they have still implemented, and they've not dealt with the hard truth, the version of Christianity that their ancestors practiced was a cultural force designed to uphold, again, white supremacy.
That's right.
Now, this version of Christianity justified the belief that blacks and indigenous people were soulless savages. And it was their justification for a lot of the things that they did during the 400 years of the Middle Passages. It proclaimed that slavery could coexist with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And worse, that slavery was a divine mandate. After decades of these teachings, they were really officially renounced during one of the regional conventions. But there was a lot of tension at that convention in renouncing these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's bring it a little closer to Alabama. At the University of Alabama, the first president was a pastor by the name of Basil Manley. And he was also the former pastor of a prominent First Baptist Church of Charleston, South Carolina. And he was the lead architect in the justification of slavery within the Christian doctrine and the author of the Alabama Revolution. This philosophy of white supremacy persisted well into the 19th century, even after the Civil War. Now we'll bring it a little bit closer to home. We're all familiar with, maybe some of us, but in the public school system right up through the 1970s, the history book for the 4th grade was called Know Alabama, K-N-O-W, Alabama. And it was the standard textbook in all of the 4th grades throughout the state. And it taught that plantation life was joyous, and the illegally kidnapped individuals that were brought here as enslaved people were very content on the plantation. Now, some of those students that learned that information, guess what? They are now teaching in the schools. And the authors of that book were professors from Huntington College in Montgomery, Vanderbilt University, and our own University of South Alabama. Now, to even bring it even closer, all of us are familiar with Dunbar School on St. Anthony Street, right?
Right.
Well, before it was Dunbar School, it was the University of Alabama Medical School.
Okay.
But the director was a guy by the name of Dr. Josiah Nye. He was a brilliant physician. Mobile had a lot of illnesses during that time because of the seaport. He had gone to school in Paris, had a lot of solutions for smallpox, yellow fever, but he had this warped sense that blacks were inferior to whites because of the size of their head. Now, this philosophy continued right up until 2010. Finally, the University of Alabama removed his name from every building throughout their campuses because it was a hypothesis. But the issue is this: look at all of the people that he influenced with that nonsense. And so we have this embedded colonialism that spans over centuries about white supremacy, blacks being inferior, and that still exists today in some cases. And so for many white Christians, the Civil War lost that shadow, that belief that they were God's chosen people, because that's the way they felt up until that time. Their defeat was really reframed into a cultural narrative, famously known as the lost cause. this ideology helped justify their Civil War defeat because they couldn't understand they being the chosen people that they lost the war. So they then reversed it into the lost cause. And it's amazing how they always go into the Bible. And they compared this to the resurrection of Jesus and promised a metaphorical return in the future where the noble ideas of the Confederacy would rise again, even if not practice of chattel slavery itself. The religion of the lost cause became a very powerful form of cultural civil religion. And it's echoed even still today. And it can be heard subliminal, not blatantly, even in the words of that MAGA. Okay? So, it is very inspiring to see so many of us in church today. But it's really that group that needs to be in the church. And they need to understand because they have never really come to grip with the real issue about racism. Racism prior to the colonial period was not about the color of your skin. It was about religion. It didn't come about the color of your skin until colonialism because of capitalism and the fact that one group was better than the other group, and that's continued. James Baldwin, he wisely observed that love is only a force capable of resolving the racial dilemma that we face. He said, love takes off the mask that we fear we cannot live without, and mask that we fear we cannot live and know we cannot live within. So he takes off the mask that we cannot live without and know that we cannot live within. Love compels us to see ourselves as we truly are and to respond to the voices that's still crying out to us from the ground. God's reckoning with white supremacy is now an unavoidable moral choice. The disguises may change, but the moral urgency remains the same. Together we face this challenge of acknowledging our history and forging a future rooted in justice and love. We're living in the present, and we're overshadowed by the sickly past. Amen. Thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. Amen.